A math toolbox is an interesting way to introduce math throughout the day, perhaps during a time of transition or when a student finishes an assignment early. In my classroom, there's only one student at a time, so activities from my math toolbox are components of the lesson or used to introduce novelty or even as a brief exit task. Most students understand quickly what letters or shapes are symmetrical, but a mirror can help them determine it if they're having trouble. It can also help them count how many teeth are in their mouth. You would be surprised how many people do not know how many teeth are in their mouth. This is a ball that we would use for count bys. Would throw the ball to the student, ask them to count by threes, but I would start with 35. They would say 38 and throw it back. We would continue for 2 or 3 times, up to about 12 times. Reverse the pattern and count backwards until we get back to the original number. Students look forward to their next holiday or their next birthday. The calendar is a great tool to help them figure out how many days are left until the event that you're waiting for. For example, one of my students will celebrate his birthday on December 29. Today is November 10th. He would figure out how many days are left in November and add 29 days representing the days in December. The teacher supports this task with questions, and some students may have to write the numbers down in order to complete the calculation. The calendar is also great for counting by sevens. Look for any month, find the number 7, and you'll see the first 4 multiples of counting by sevens. When children are learning how to do addition and subtraction with regrouping, items like matches will be helpful to them. You can make a group of 10 by putting them together in a rubber band and lay them on an organizational map. These traditional 10 base blocks also help you see the magnitude in a number. This single block represents 1. The numeral 1 moves over to the next column and it would look like this. Move the same numeral over to the hundreds column and it looks like this. One more column and the number looks like this. There's a big difference between 1 and 1,000, and the blocks provide concrete examples to the children that helps build their number sense. When children are first experiencing math, you want to let them use the language that they understand. A child might call this a block and this a ball, but the educator will begin to use the name sphere and cube, and eventually the children learn the correct terms. For a young child, I might ask them, what is a real-life object in the world that has this shape? For an older student, I might ask them to explain how would I calculate the volume in a real-life object that has this shape. Dice are used for many games, and one of my favorite ones is just a simple game of counting. Each one receives the same amount of dice. We throw them on the table, and we race to count the face value showing. If you don't use a strategy, then we have to discuss that. What kind of strategy would you use when you're counting? In Europe, eggs are sold in cartons of 10, which are perfect for showing the partners of 10. With different colored discs, the child can show all the partners of 10, and when they're ready, they write the same calculations with a pen and pencil in symbolic language. These dominoes are made for young children, and playing the game helps them learn how to count objects, how to represent the objects with symbolic language, and it increases their one-to-one correspondence. And another way to use the dominoes is for subitizing. You quickly show them the picture with the objects for a second or two and ask them how many they saw. This creates great number sense. A pack of cards can be used to build fluency. You play a simple game of war. A young child has to determine which number is bigger. Older students would have to add or multiply the numbers that are showing, and the first person who gives the answer would receive the cards. This is a menu from a favorite Thai restaurant. A young student would just figure out how much they would have to pay to order food, and an older student would figure out by percentage what type of tip they would give the waiter. A jar sitting on my desk has candy. A student would be asked to estimate how many candies they think are in the jar. And if their estimate is close enough, they would receive a candy. And later on, the objects would change, and if they were smaller, like sunflower seeds, they would become more challenging. This is a gravity stick. It's much like a toy. This is a useful tool when a student has been working hard for a few minutes and feels like they need a break. We'd give them 30 seconds on the timer, and they would see how many times they can make this noise in 30 seconds. I love collecting items, which will help build fluency in multiplication. A child can skip count by 4s as they lay down the forks on the table. They can skip count by 6s with stars, and by 5s with maple leaves. Children are also motivated by bright colors. In practicing a few math facts, I might ask a child to use red if the answer is even, and to use green if the answer is odd. The canister itself is filled with holes in rows of 2s. I would ask them to count the holes, observe how they count, help them develop strategies if they have any difficulty. Nature is filled with patterns. There is a sequence of numbers in nature called the Fibonacci numbers. They're very interesting and intriguing. The swirls that you would see on a pine cone, on a sunflower, and even in a galaxy would also reflect those Fibonacci numbers. These are items I would use to inspire a child to become more aware of the numbers in their environment. Thanks for watching my Math Toolbox. See you next time.